Hello everybody and welcome to Profit Mission Control. This is Matt, and today I want to talk to you about a recap for the week of January 30th, 2017. I'm going to go over some of the trades I took and then also talk to you about some of the stocks that are currently on our launch list that have not triggered yet, and then some of the ones that actually have triggered or are in flight. So before I get started, I want to make sure that I talk to you about this disclaimer. As most of you know, I'm just an engineer. I'm not a financial advisor. The information that I provide in this video and on my website are really just for education and informational purposes only. As an engineer, I like to analyze stuff, and stocks is naturally something worth a lot of analysis, and it's one of the things that you can actually profit from if you understand what you're doing and do your due diligence. However, this information should not be recognized as a financial advice. So if you find this information useful for you, I recommend you talk to a competent financial advisor, and obviously using this information is at your own risk. So looking at the recap for January 30th, that week that started last Monday, it was a pretty active week. We had 21 trades total, and out of those 21, 16 were profitable, with the highest profit of 35% return on CERU. We had 5 stocks that we lost money on, with the highest loss around 5%, and that was on BDSI. Overall, our accuracy is 76%, and the average days that we held a stock was about 2 days. And our average return for the week was 5.3%, which still is very, very healthy. In fact, it was a crazy week given all the crazy moves we had on some of the small low float stocks like HMNY, that's on my list, S and CERU. There's also a bunch of other ones like RGSE made a couple crazy moves the last week. DFFN, and then a bunch of other ones too that I didn't trade. But those are the it was a very healthy week, and I want to go through some of those. I'm not going to go through every single one of these trades, but maybe we'll talk about the couple on the top, as well as the one that I lost the highest loss on, as well as one of the stocks in the middle, like LC, which was one that if you look at some of those in the middle here, although I had a profit target of 8%, I decided to exit early and take 4% off the table. And there is a reason why that happens, and I'll try and explain some of my decision making, but then taking or exiting a trade is usually something that depends on your personal preference. It depends on your risk tolerance. It depends on how the stock is behaving and its actual character. So there's so many factors that it's very hard to explain why somebody would decide to leave a trade or exit a trade and take the profit. The profit targets are, again, just for as a guideline, but it doesn't mean you have to wait until that target is reached. In most cases, I don't. So let's look at the first trade, which was CERU. So CERU has had a crazy Friday, and that crazy Friday, and the reason why I put it on the list for Friday was because of the action on the prior 2 days. So it was coming out of a consolidation area for a very long time. What I noticed on Wednesday and Thursday, that it tapped on this area of resistance around 94 cents, which it actually consolidated at before in prior months in the October timeframe, and the volume was actually swelling. So in fact, if I take Friday out of the picture, we can see that the last 2 days volume was pretty high. This actually broke above the 20-day moving average and the 50-day moving average and stayed there, although it did peak all day, but it came down. Still, it never came down all the way to 20, so it was a very bullish move. And then on the second day, on Thursday, the volume was even higher. 2 million shares were traded, and it looked like it was staging a momentum. There's a lot of activity on stock tweets. So we put it on the launch list for Friday, but what happened after market, and that was actually one of the reasons why I also put it on the watch list. If you look at the 15-minute chart, pre-market on Thursday, after market on Thursday, the stock continued to continue higher momentum, and it almost tapped the 210 level, or sorry, the 110 level, and decided to put that as a launch target. In fact, pre-market on Friday, it was dabbling around that area and did break it, and it actually ran away. So I did not trade it at pre-market, although I should have. And I said, okay, if it does make if it gives you another opportunity at 110, I will take that trade. So as soon as actually about 15 minutes prior to market open, the stock was dropping. There was a lot of profit taking, and then it opened. Actually, it dipped a little bit lower, and that's where I jumped in right here at 210, and then I rode it up all the way to past my target. The run was very, very fast. So whoever traded this would realize that was a very quick upward momentum. And in fact, let me go to the 5-minute and show you a little bit more. This 5-minute candle all the way took it from $1.10 all the way to $1.45. So blasting through my profit target. Now this is where the emotion of greed kicks in, and I decided to hang on to that trade just because of the amount of volume. I mean, if you look at the 5-minute volume level compared to the prior days, was significantly higher. So I held on to it, and then on the second 5-minute candle, it touched 150. I was about to take my profit, and then it suddenly dropped quickly, and I said it's still holding very well around the 20 moving average, and there were still a lot of buyers, and it was making a good setup for a potential second run higher. And I decided that as soon as I hit this level again, I'm going to get out, which is exactly what I did, and took my profit around for $1.48 for that trade. And obviously there was a continued opportunity to go all the way to the high of the day, which was 169. So looking at that stock, actually it did trade sideways most of the day. There was an attempt to probably break here, didn't, and another attempt maybe getting closer to there. It did correct towards the end of the session, and then after market, it actually is starting to creep back up. And I would say, based on the daily chart, we are coming in a very healthy region, which is actually filling this gap. It has room to run through at least this level of $1.93. Now it did close the day below the 149 level, which is a 200 moving day average. However, like I said, after hours it crept back up to that level, I believe. So it should be worth watching, but I already made my trade on it. If it presents another opportunity, I will take it. The other stock I want to talk to you about is HMNY, which is our second stock here that we made the second highest profit on. And so if some of you who are familiar with HMNY, that stock is a crazy stock. And if you look back on the daily chart, back in June of last year, that made a move intraday from $1.16 level. Within a couple of days, it hit a high of 17. It's just a very low float stock that has a lot of volatility, and it presents a lot of profit making. And it did not do that only once, but it did that also in the August timeframe, where it had a significant jump again from $8 to $15, and then as most recently as in October, had another crazy day. What you notice is that obviously it was trending downwards, although it was making these intraday spikes. The overall trend was coming down, except that something different happened on this day, on January 10th. Where it created the daily on the trade chart, it created a new high, and it started trading in this upward trend channel. Another characteristic is that it actually overtook or attempted to overtake its 20-day moving average, and remains still within this channel. And it's been having a lot of these sort of intraday spikes. The closest one was on the 23rd, where it did actually push all the way close to 5 and then close at 390.91 time roughly. So why was this on the list on the 31st, which was this day? And the reason was because the prior 2 days it started, volume started to kick in. It closed a little bit high. We had a bottoming tail here, and it challenged its 50-day moving average. And I said if this breaks the 50-day moving average, and with conviction, which I put a entry target at $4.41, then it would be attractive for a trade. And lo and behold, on the 31st, it did hit that target. Let me go to 15-minute chart. And it hit that target, and it was a very healthy move actually, because right here it crossed that level, which was the roughly around the 20-day on the daily chart, and I had a profit target around 475. And the reason I chose again 475 because it was a prior resistance level. So I did not take profit that day, although it went all the way to 469. I held on to it overnight. Overnight there was news that came out pre-market on the 1st of February, and as soon as the market opened, the price swelled all the way to 533 level, and I was holding that trade on the way down and then exited at 520. So that was a good healthy 18% return. And since then, the stock has been coming down. However, back based on the daily chart, it's still trending upwards. And it's actually showing kind of a mixed bag of action, because it failed to break through the 200 moving day average. However, it did break the 3 days ago above the 50-day moving average, but unfortunately it closed below that. So it's still holding at the 20-day moving average, and it's also holding at the bottom of this channel. So the next few days are critical to see if this stock decides to continue to go forward or will just drop again. There was a lot of selling volume here on the 1st, so I'm not really sure. We'll continue to watch it. I think this will have a day where we're going to get one of those crazy spikes like we've had here in the past, unless it just drops and goes down all the way. All right, so next one I want to talk about is LC. So LC Lending Club, I actually tweeted a lot about it on StockTwits. It was a very interesting momentum change, and I like that one. Let's go back to the chart here. So that one, at first I had a profit target of 8%, exiting at 659, and then in hindsight I'll tell you why I thought maybe that was not the right profit target, and I ended up taking profit at 635 level, which still gave me a good 4%, but I had to hold it for 9 days, and the reason is right here. So looking at the daily chart for LC, we put it on the launch list on the January 20th, and the goal was to, the reason why we put it on the 20th, because it was actually doing, it was going through an uptrend, and it had already passed its 50 and 20 moving day average. The volume was starting to pick up in these couple of sessions. So we said, looking at the end, there was an intraday, I believe, resistance at 608, or basically 606, and then for conviction, usually I pick a number there's a couple points higher, and looking for an entry point. And with the thought that initially my profit target would be at 659, which would be close to this area here. So that was kind of my goal. And what happened actually was it did trigger. Not immediately. I think this was published on the 20th, so it did trigger on the 25th of January, and I kept watching that to get to that profit target. And what it kept doing is it kept going up intraday and then falling back, going up, falling back, going up. And as long as it didn't hit my abort target, I was still okay. It was just taking too long to reach my profit target. And then what I realized is that actually it started tapping the 200-day moving average and failed to break it. Now, it could still break it, but I got a little bit tired of having to watch this for let's see how many sessions, since it target 1, 2, 3, like I mentioned, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sessions. So I took profit at 4% and decided to close that position. Now, in hindsight, I should have put my profit target at the 200 moving daily average, but I was looking more at the prior resistance level, which was this level here. So like I said, it may still push through that, maybe with good news, or if a lot of people who want to accumulate on the buying side might push it through the 200 moving day. But the fact that it tapped it 3 times and didn't break it yet made me worried enough to just exit the trade. And similarly, if I go back to the list that I want to talk about, the ones that I lost money on, let's talk about BDSI. So BDSI, again, this was one of those stocks where I'd say in hindsight, I should have probably done a better job picking the price targets. But so BDSI went on our launch list for the 30th of January. And the reason why it was attractive, again, it was starting to form an uptrend, and like these 4 days, there was a pivot point there. On the first day, it actually broke the 20 moving average. The second day, it broke the 50 moving average. And then I put it on the watch list for the 30th with a target to break the 202 level. And again, 202 level was a prior resistance in this area here. And if it broke it, you know, it has room to go maybe and test this resistance, which was my profit target at 220. So what actually happened is that it broke through the entry price at 202. Let's see, it broke there on this day, which was the February 1st. So that's when it actually launched. And it tested, it tried to break through that. It hit a resistance at 204, and then the second day it hit a resistance of 204, and then it came back, and I had to stop out here on the actually stopped out the first day on the first. So why didn't this trade work? Well, I say in hindsight, I should have probably I did not recognize, you know, there was a resistance level here that it failed to break multiple times here and here, although it made it to there, it came back. So just maybe an inaccurate choice of a profit target and not paying attention to this resistance level. I was looking more towards testing this level here, but you know, sometimes you're not careful enough, you might miss another resistance level there. So as CVEO, I think it was a similar situation. That was another stock I lost money on, and on that one, that was also on our launch list. That one has been pretty volatile. I actually ended up shorting it and making some money on the short side, but it did hit the 364 launch level, failed to really go all the way to my profit target level, which is at this here, and that's because it's actually failing. Yeah, I was looking at a profit target around this level here, but then I think they came out with a secondary offer that caused the price to drop significantly, and that day that actually launched, I exited that one for a 3% loss on the 31st, which was here. So anyway, always a lesson to learn from every loss. It's not the end of the world, and that's why it's very critical that you put an abort target and you respect that abort target. And in this case, the loss was, pretty low, minimal, about -3%. Similar examples on these two as well, and Roca. Roca actually, I believe it's still in play, although I had to exit, and I'll tell you why. So this one, I actually had my goal was on this one to go from 529 to 550, which is this level here, launching at 529 level. And for whatever reason, some sellers came in yesterday on Friday and got stuffed out, but it is showing pretty bullish behavior. It's still held above its 50-day moving average, which is very healthy, and it has some way to go before it tests a couple of resistance levels here, I would say, and here. So keep that on your watch list if you are if you have traded this in the past. It does make also kind of crazy moves intraday, so it's a good stock to keep your eyes on. All right, so with that, I want to move to kind of a recap of the profit. So since the beginning of the year, we had started with a $25,000 account. Total trades we've made to date is 69. 21 of them were last week. And the account has grown from 25,000 to 78,000, which would be a portfolio growth rate of 215%. And again, the reason is really focusing on the right setups. I do make mistakes here and there, but as long as my profit to risk ratio is a healthy above 100%, and I'll explain that more in a separate video, you should be doing well. So looking at next week, I mentioned this, there's I've been publishing on the website at Profit Mission Control. I've been publishing the stocks that have been on a prior launch list that have not yet triggered. So those, you can go and take a look on them and see if anything in that list interests you. And the way you can find that is really on the web page. So if you go to profitmissioncontrol.com and go to active watch list, I've been publishing this now. This is my second week, so I'm trying to pull all the stocks that have been on our list in the last few weeks that have not yet hit the launch price, so to keep an eye on. The ones that have departed significantly from this target level, I've just taken out. There's some of these I think are still in play, so keep an eye on those. And then last but not least is looking at the stocks that are currently actually in flight that have triggered over the last few sessions. They have not hit the abort price or came close to the profit target, so they're worth looking at for sure. And the first one on the list is GCAP. So let me go to the chart. So GCAP is doing a very nice recovery mode after it had dropped significantly. It's been staging an uptrend over the last couple of months, and the nice thing about this one is that it's already surpassed its 200 moving day average, 20 moving day average, and 50-day moving average, and that same order here. And looking at this one, we put it on the list for the I can't remember what date it was, but it launched on February 2nd, so this must have been on our list for the 127, I think 130. It triggered at 771, and it's looking so far very good. Let's see here, there we go. Yeah, so it launched at 771 level, and we expect it to go to this resistance level, which was somewhere around this area here, around $8 probably would be a good place to take profit, if not sooner. I am worried about this gap area here. I would say probably around this level is probably the proper area to watch for profit taking if it continues. Obviously it can turn around and come down to our abort price 746, then we'll exit. The next one is fuel. Fuel is also making a very nice move. So fuel is also in a confirmed uptrend, at least from a 50 and 20 moving day average perspective. We put it on the launch list on the 12th, and we waited for it to break this level at 229, which was a prior resistance here, and it did break it on February 3rd. So it's moving. So on Friday it actually broke that level. It did come back all the way back down there, which, you know, something to keep aware of. It might decide to correct even further. In that case, we will exit at 217. If it continues to go, I think it has room to go to the 250 level, which would be this next level of resistance. And then it has its 200 moving day average to challenge in the next few sessions if it continues to go higher. It might consolidate sideways or a little bit on the lower side. I hope it doesn't go below the 217 area, which is a prior breakout area, so it just might continue to move sideways. MOBL is another stock that launched, and it launched on, again, Friday, and it was to go, the target price was above this resistance level, which was at 451, and it launched, and it's actually at it reached the high of 460, and it closed around 455, which is still looking very healthy, as long as it doesn't drop below that level. And we have an abort price of 440 on that one, so it might have room to go to 468 level, which is a prior resistance in this area here. GSV is also a stock that launched on the 3rd, on Friday. Again, it broke this prior resistance level at 285. It came all the way back down to that level. It's still healthy. It hasn't hit our abort price yet. It has room to go to around this resistance level, which I put down as 305, maybe a $3. Looking more towards either this one or this level here too. So I would say somewhere in this, if it has a problem or has a hard time breaking through to $3, probably I'll take profit and exit there. And then last one is MODN. And MODN again launched at $9.22, which is a prior resistance level here. It's staging an uptrend. It's got a 200 moving day average, challenging it coming soon. However, it has room to go and test this prior resistance if the bullish momentum goes with it. I'm worried about this large volume selling. However, it still looks very attractive from a trading perspective. It has a good setup. So those are the 5 lists that are in flight. So keep an eye on those. I'm going to have to work on the launch list for tomorrow, February 6th. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you found it useful and like to connect with me and Profit Mission Control, here's all our social channels. And if you liked the video, please put thumbs up or comments. I'd be glad to read through those. And thank you for spending the time here. Appreciate it.